a designer, a teacher, and a friend. His show will make you laugh and entertain you to the end. He shares his life on video for you to get inspired. He doesn't take himself too serious, so just subscribe. Love pizza, love dolls, and love Nutella. Fabio will take you around with him and show you how La Vita è Bella. Hey.
And we are basically recording.
Fantastic.
Jens,
Hi.
thanks a lot
Morning.
for taking the time.
Nice
I
to see
really
you in the shirt.
appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, let me just explain why you're saying this, because otherwise people will think that we have a relationship outside of that. No, I was preparing the studio for recording, and since there are 28 degrees, I was kind of fixing the room without a t-shirt on. And then the video went up, Jens was connected, and he saw me without a t-shirt.
Good stuff.
That's because the camera is pretty high. The reality is that I was naked. No, I'm only kidding. Jens, nice to see you, man. How's it going?
You too, man. It's going great. It's nice to be on here. Thank you.
It's been a while since the last time we spoke, huh?
Yeah. We were supposed to see each other last year at the conference, but
it was for a good reason. It was for a
good reason I couldn't come. But this year, I booked the early blind bird special. What was it called?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one. So I'm excited to see you live again.
Yeah, me too. Same here. Also, maybe I'll make a little introduction about you. The reason why I wanted to have you on the show, it's because I consider you highly as an artist, and for a couple of reasons that I'm going to list now. First of all, I've seen you going from basically 0 to 100 in a relatively short time. I remember when you first started, your work was, nothing special. But you showed like some work ethic that was something that, I was like, this guy is hustling, And I remember your work started to get better and better. I'm gonna post some of your pictures so that people have an idea what we are talking about. Your office is located in the north of Copenhagen, if I don't mistake, right?
Yep.
And at the moment you are expanding, which is the reason why we're having this conversation, right?
I guess so.
You went from being a freelancer, having your own clients, and now you're facing yourself with you're facing the situation where you're taking more challenges and you need to kind of act on it, right?
Yeah. It's funny you say. I saw the Mike Golden interview you did, or I came in like halfway through, and you also asked him a question about the freelancing aspect. And even though he's just a single person, he never saw himself as a freelancer. And I've been kind of in the same boat. I've never really taken that freelancing title. I don't know why really. I guess it's we can talk about it later maybe, but I think it depends on how you see yourself and what your goal maybe is. But I don't know if we should talk about it now or.
Yeah, as you wish. I mean, one other thing before before we continue. I have to thank you. I never really thanked you for what you did for me, and probably it didn't even go across your radar.
Nope.
But I remember it was in the very beginning of us starting with the D2 conference, and you wrote me a very long message saying, how the conference kind of helped you and inspired you to go freelance. And to be honest with you, I was going through a very low time in my life because I was not making any money. I was struggling as an artist. I was struggling as a business person trying to affirm the D2 conference. But then you kind of show me the other side of the stuff that we were doing, which is, the impact that you can have on other people. And I don't know, I've had this kind of crazy idea that what you did for me now with this interview, you can do for other people, kind of shed a little bit of light on their paths and, kind of help others as well. Because I think at the end of the day, this is the goal with what we do.
Definitely.
So
nice.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm glad.
Anyway, I would like you to talk a little bit about the beginnings of you and having your business.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I was studying architecture, we started using SketchUp as the first time ever having with any 3D program experience with that, and I spent way too much time on it, starting installing all these weird plugins and experimenting. And yeah, then one of the guys in my class was really good at Max, and I was blown away by the stuff he could do. And I was like, I gotta switch. And it was a horrible time. It was just so difficult. I mean, it was like 2000 and I don't know, 11 or something.
That's a long time ago already.
Yeah, it's a long time ago, and it looked like shit. But I just I just kept on using so much time on it. So eventually my professor like took me to the side on the second year. Everyone had a talk to him, and what was it you wanted to do later on? And I love doing these images. And he was like, really? Maybe you should think about doing something else. So I was like, oh, okay.
How old are you? Let me interrupt you for a second.
I'm 30.
You're 30.
Yeah.
And did you what age were you when you started studying?
It was the early 20s, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to patch a little bit, because every person has a different path. Like, for instance, I started studying at the age of 25, 26.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I remember the old dudes in my class too.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting you. Go on. So your
No.
teacher told you, quit. You're never gonna amount to nothing.
This is not gonna work out. But yeah, I found it really fascinating. And like, people in the industry, when they want something for the passion, like you study in the evening, you try to make it work.
Yeah.
And it took a long time to get to a level where I thought, okay, this is, I mean, you can see it in the newspapers when there was some off-the-plan homes renders being done, and I was like, okay, I could do that. Yeah. And then after maybe another year, I was like, okay, I'm better than them. But when I look at it now, it's still shit. But
I was showing some of your pictures, and I can definitely say that they're not shit.
But I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, you have to strive to get better every time, like maybe even without knowing. But I remember my biggest hurdle was like, I didn't, personal projects it's a really nice thing to evolve, but you miss that connection with a client. Like, what are their needs? And yeah, it's hard to go on Arc Daily and find plans and facades and things and start to modeling a project. And I mean, everyone has like 1,000 old personal projects that never gets done. So yeah, getting that first client project is really a good way to get going. But yeah, basically I was relatively young when we had our kid. We were both 25. So I couldn't be that picky when I had to go get a job. And I ended up in an engineering firm, really nice and supportive place, but the creativity in me was just like going nowhere, slowly dying. And I thought, this is not something I want to do the rest of my life. I want to do these images. So I basically like did it in the evenings and in the weekends when the kid were put to bed and I had some free time, trying to build up a portfolio that was worth showing. And I remember going to the D2 conference in 2014 for the first time. I brought my friend, and we were just, okay, this is an insane event, and okay, people are making a living out of this, and they are just regular folks with a passion like us. And I came back the next year with some better images and started like showing around, and people was really supportive and just said go for it, and kind of pushed me to go even further. And I think a really important lesson for people still in a position where they may be not doing what they want to do and have some other job, it is to like not to rush it. I mean, I have to thank my girlfriend for like putting a damper on it. So if it were me, I would have just quit the job and and said, okay, let's go for it. But okay, you have a kid and you have a place to have to pay rent, put food on the table. So the whole idea of just having a job, even though if you don't like it, that pays the bills, it gives you a freedom and a stability to like not having to chase work. And I think that's really important to like let it come to you slowly.
No, that's very good that you're saying this, because this is one of the things that I say to the people that come to me for consultation. You know, I realize that most of the time the biggest issue is the frustration on the workplace rather than, you know, the creativity part. Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that freelancing is a job that allows you to be as creative as people think. I mean, there are still the limitations imposed by the client.
Yeah.
And, you know, despite what you do, the client might go for a certain length, but then will say, wait a second, these are still the stuff that you're doing for me, you know?
Yeah. It's definitely like a light bulb goes off once you get to do your first couple of client projects. Maybe it's not that exciting as you thought it would be, but you have to deliver. So
but it's a good thing to acknowledge that, you know, and don't make the mistake to think that you're doing that because you're gonna find some sort of like freedom, you know, like all the time people say, I ask them, why do you want to go freelance? And they say to me, because I want to have my own freedom. And I'm like, you're
gonna be so surprised.
Yeah, I was more free when I had a job than handling my own company. But anyway,
14-hour days is always fun. No weekends.
But
I mean,
are you trying to find your own dimension at the moment, or do you?
I'm still trying to find a balance because it's still relatively new. I quit my job in May last year to go full time. That was at the point where I could see, okay, I have a couple of clients. Most importantly, all the clients' projects I did on the side while I had my job.
That's very important.
At the regular place, I built up a buffer. So we had for rent and expenses for, I don't know, maybe 10 months. Mm-hmm. So I could go 10 months without a single job and we would still be able to stay put. And then the agreement was with my girlfriend that if it wasn't going when we had like maybe 3 months runway left on the buffer, I would have to apply for a regular job. So it was like really a negotiation of her feeling also safe.
I think it worked out fine.
It worked out great so far, so good.
No, I'm
so
very
it's
happy
nice
to hear that, you know, because I think that this is a very important thing, you know. People say all the time, follow your passion, follow your dreams, but you should be a little bit, you should know what you're doing.
Think it through, yeah. There's no rush. I mean, I was really impatient. I mean, but it took me maybe 2-3 years from the idea of actually wanting to do my own thing to being able to do it. And it was so frustrating. I mean, I wanted to do it tomorrow, but that's just not how it works. And I mean, time goes by so fast anyway, so
it does.
I feel really old saying this.
But it does. I mean, if
yeah.
you think about it, you know, it seems like yesterday that you started, to be honest, you know?
Yeah.
And so basically, how long did it take you for you to say, okay, this is what I'm doing?
Like you mean from my first client project to going to quitting the job, or?
No, to say, okay, now I have a company and the company's running and, you know, I have my jobs and everything seems to be, you know, going the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, I think it was pretty much right off the bat from when I quit the job, because I had made sure I had projects in the pipeline and I had the buffer, and I had clients coming back. So yeah, it was with one, I don't know what it's called in English, like all the safety equipment was on. So yeah.
This is awesome. This is really good because, you know, it shows that if you do it the right way, then there is nothing stopping you. You know, the moment
Yeah.
you do it by thinking and by planning, then nothing can stop you.
Yeah, it's not like you feel they have to do it tomorrow and you're wasting time if you don't get this up and running. But I mean, basically all the time you put in making sure it's gonna work, it's not time wasted. It's time gained in the end.
That's a very good phrase. Wait a second, I should probably write it down so that I can make a Facebook post.
Yeah, to do a motivational T-shirt.
A motivational T-shirt. Now, okay, let's focus a little bit on the now. We talked about this already in the past, and you just mentioned about, you know, Mike considering himself not a freelancer, you know, considering himself a business and so on and so forth. You know, in a way, you are a one-man show, but at the moment, you find yourself facing some challenges, and you need to kind of grow, right?
Yeah. It's I mean, I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago I had to turn down, what was it, two new clients because I simply didn't have the time to do the projects. I was already booked and it couldn't be pushed, and that's a really sucky feeling to saying no to new clients, because I mean, it's still relatively new, so in 2 months' time, who knows? I mean, so far things have come through and they all call at once typically. But it was, and it's also, I don't know how you feel in your home office. You're talking to people every day almost, I guess, so it's all good. But it can get kind of lonely. I mean, if you just, when you're doing the work, you're just so focused that you maybe don't realize it. But I really would have liked if I had maybe someone like me as a partner to start the whole thing off with. I mean, another one who's passionate about it, who you could talk some ideas with, and like a second pair of eyes would have been really nice. So now I was looking for getting an intern to see how that would work. So I'm actually getting one next week. It's going to be really cool for a few weeks to see how that works out.
Yeah, and then you take it from there. You know,
Yeah.
It's all part of even for the people that come work into you, understanding your background and your circumstances, and accept that, and kind of not going for the job, but rather go for the idea of it. You know what I mean? Now, one of the discussions that I've had with some people on online the last few weeks is, and I really like this expression, the fact that freelancing really is, at least in the field of architectural visualization, some sort of like liquid state. And this is because, you know, you cannot really stay freelance for too long because of many things. You know, the fact that in a way you need to have a certain economic growth to be time proof, you know, future proof. You need to be able to adjourn yourself with like technologies, and you need to have also this professional growth where the time that you personally employ in doing stuff needs to add more and more value over time. And now my question to you is, what you think about this? Do you have an opinion about this whole idea?
Yeah, I think it comes down to maybe what type of person you are, what it is you want to do, because I totally get how people would want to do images for the rest of their lives, and they're just fine with getting an assignment and carrying that one out to make beautiful images. And I think that's maybe how you can define yourself as a freelancer. You rely on work from other companies, other studios, and you feel great when you have an assignment in your inbox and you can carry it out and deliver it, and then it's like, okay, I'm done here, on to the next one. But then on the other side is that you're so dependent on other studios and other companies to get work, and then maybe you transition into, okay, I have to actively maybe search for clients. And when you have to talk to clients and you need to have client meetings, you need to position yourself as a professional, you need to maybe have an image or a brand. you get over to the business side of things. And I think I've always been maybe on the more business side of things. I really want to build something. I don't see myself in 5 to 10 years still doing images all day. So yeah, I think it's what you want to do.
Ambition as well, right?
Yeah, but I think I think making images it's great. I love it. But if I also love talking to clients and hearing their needs and seeing how I could grow and build the brand. The whole journey is like a whole package for me. So
the so-called self-actualization.
Yeah.
You'll get there. I mean, eventually, you know, I've seen you since the very beginning, starting your business, hustling and fighting, and you did a fantastic job. I mean, just looking at the quality of the images that you've been able to produce lately, this is amazing stuff, you know. It's and I don't know, it speaks for itself. But anyway, I've already put some pictures over for people to see and grab. Anyway, I just want to ask you, what are at the moment your future plans? Like, now I know that you're getting an intern, but what will be the next steps after that?
I like to things. We just talked about how time moves so fast, but now I get maybe a little bit impatient, also knowing that it would probably take me another 2, 3, or 5 years to get a couple of employees if I want to do things right. I mean, I could maybe just put out some job ads and get people in and see, just cross my fingers and hope I get the same clients calling all at once again, and then everything would be good. But that's kind of a stretch and more of a band-aid solution. So I want to try and, I don't know if you can call it grow organically, but like really see baby steps with this intern. See if after a couple of weeks, if he or she can actually produce a job, or I mean a load of work that would make it valuable to me to actually hire another person. So in the long run, I'd like to have a couple of people around me, a small studio. I think there's a lot of room still locally for a studio that like really wants to do good work.
Also, I think that in a way you still care very much about the quality of the stuff that you do, right?
Oh yeah, I spent way too much time on it.
Yeah. You can tell, it transpires by looking at the pictures of your work. I mean, I think that, I don't know, I have the personal feeling that Ikonoform in a way could really stand in that niche of like boutique kind of visualization companies where, you know, it's highly detailed, very researched compositions and you know, furniture collection, all that kind of stuff. So you can really tell that there goes a lot of work into putting together an image like this.
Yeah, and it's fun, like we talked about earlier, when you get the first client, like what do they actually want in the image, and what is how much time can you spend on it. And also my portfolio up until actually just recently was mostly interiors. That was what I mean, you can really nitpicky go down in the details.
Yeah.
But most of the work I've done lately, I haven't been able to show most of it, but it's like architecture competitions, and it's still a field where I can feel I'm growing, and it's also great fun. So yeah.
Now I have a question coming from me personally, because I love the blog that you write, and I should put a link to it. Now, will you please go back to writing?
Yeah.
I mean, you're an amazing writer, you know?
Thanks, man.
I mean, we were talking about it back in the days. You really started researching and learning about writing, right?
Yeah.
I remember you suggested me a couple of books, and I think I also downloaded the Kindle version of one of these books that you suggested me, but I never got around to read it. But now I have this application for like audiobooks. Maybe I'll look into that again. What was the name of the book that you were reading that really helped
I think
you?
it was on I had a couple. Was it on writing well, maybe?
Yeah, something like this. I remember it had like a red book cover.
I don't have it in the office, but it was like more how to maybe cut off some of all the fluff that you use when you write. But that's also a thing when you have your normal job and you only have a couple of client projects to do in the evenings. You have time to write on the blog and read books, and so for the future it would be nice to save some time and actually being able to do other stuff like writing a blog.
Dude, listen, somebody that, comes to you for like recommendations, what do you think I should do in order for me to go freelance and maybe one day build my own company? What would you recommend them?
I want to say patience, but then again, that's not the thing you want to hear when you want to quit your job and go freelance. It would be to I wrote about it and you talked about it also in an article about doing personal work instead of doing some random things you've seen. Try and see if you can actually provide something of value to a potential client, ideally locally, or someone you can get in touch to. If you've seen some of their projects they've done and you think you could do it better, give it a go, and then send them an email afterwards saying, I really like this project, see how I did this, and then don't try and ask for work. Just give them a couple of weeks and let them come back to you. That's actually something I did for a company here locally, and it resulted in work for them later on. So
I did that too. This is a fantastic hack,
Yeah.
Taking a project of somebody that you really appreciate, take the pictures that you've seen, make a render, sending them to them, and they will call you. I mean, probably not anymore because we are not the only one that thought about doing this.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of companies, they've seen they have experienced that already. But I remember one of my very first big projects came from me showing pictures of a building that was already designed by these architects. And unfortunately, the pay wasn't that good, but I really wanted to have them in my portfolio.
Yeah.
But then in the end, I didn't like the renders that I did for them.
So you didn't put them in.
Yeah, it's a cat that bites its own tail. What can I say? It's sometimes it's a risk.
Yeah. Or maybe also try network is also really important, and it's a wide term, but I regret not having spent any time in a studio beforehand and getting to know people in the industry. So I had someone to call up from day one and say, hey, I'm actually doing this now. Could you put a word in for me? I had a couple of friends from school that could do it, right? But I mean, it's basically starting from scratch, trying to get your name out there. And I sound really old now, but like go and knock on doors, like personally show up at offices, and don't be too pushy, but like people get so surprised. When I started out, I took it like a couple of hours drive around the area, and I just showed up with some pictures on a laptop and had a chat with them. How are you actually using 3D in your projects? All kind of stuff. And it was like people were like, okay, cool, we didn't know you could do that. I mean, all the decision makers still are old school. They want a face-to-face meeting. They want to know who they're dealing with. So I know it puts a limitation for some in some countries where there might not be a lot of work, but you'd be surprised how people appreciate like seeing person up close, depending on how you look. But
I hope this is not a reference to me.
No.
Jens, listen, I will put the links to your Facebook page and also to your blog.
Thanks, man.
I think this is everything that I wanted to ask you. I'm sorry that we didn't do this live because I'm pretty sure that people would have enjoyed, asking you questions. But I'm gonna consider it sort as a conversation that I've had, just like I did with Jeff and with the other people that I've interviewed. Anyway, I'm gonna try and edit this video now and post it online straight away. I wanna thank you for taking the time for doing this. I'm gonna stop the recording. Don't go anywhere. I'm gonna say goodbye to you in a second, alright?
With the shirt on.
With a shirt on.
Okay, cool.
Thanks a lot for doing this.
Thanks, man.